We're good. Hey, we got a caller from Philadelphia. Mr. Z, how are you doing, buddy? What can I do for you?
Hey, I love those stories this morning about Arch Crawford and Jill and Chase. That's terrific.
You know, that little squirt, he doesn't remember any of it. Luckily, I kept records of it. So I gave him the recordings and all the other stuff, and I gave him the sound box and stuff. But, you know, he looks at it and he says, no, he says, I don't remember it. And God, he was doing it every day. He'd walk around the house saying, copy that 10-4, copy that 10-4. And, you know, she'd say, ask him to do something, and he'd say, copy that 10-4. And so it was rather funny, but he doesn't remember it now. So what difference does it make? What can I do for you, my friend?
Shame on him.
Yeah.
A 3-year-old didn't remember what Grandpa said.
Yeah. I can't get any. Yeah, go ahead.
Two topics. The first and most important for me, would you kindly put up into Tiger TV the charts you're looking at and using for the NASDAQ 100 futures, and
Sure.
identify in similar fashion what you've just done for the S&P futures, what level, if broken, tells you something significant, please?
Sure, I'll do that. I'll post a chart. We'll take a break and stay with us, and we'll be right back. Okay, John?
Thank you very much.
And we're talking with Mr. Z out of Philadelphia. John, you were asking me the question, what would be the corresponding price of the NASDAQ as it was the price of 2860 in the September S&P Futures? That number is at 73.90, John. That's the number that I'm looking at. Now, you notice the chart that I posted into the room here, we're in effect in a 6-day down move, and so we are due for some type of a rally. The question is, if we break those lows, we might not get a rally. So that's the number I'm looking at, which roughly 73.90 in the NASDAQ.
Very good. I appreciate that. And I wanted to secondarily ask you about the euro currency, euro versus the dollar. There was some overnight weakness in the euro down to, I think, 115.30 on the cash cross pair. And then we see some buying and prices bubbled up. Is that significant as you see it, looking past just today and tomorrow?
Not really, John, because I'm looking at a price to come in right around 114.80 in the euro, and the high that we made today, we had a 70-point rally off the bottom, and that stopped right at the 61% retracement at 116.05. Until we get above 116.30, I don't think it really means very much, but we could easily turn this around and see it run quite a bit to the upside if we get above 116.40. It still looks good on the charts as near as I can tell, so we'll just have to wait to see what the next cannon shot comes in out of Washington or New York or someplace like that that's going to give us some information on what do we think the dollar is going to do.
Excellent. Thanks for that input, Larry. I'm going to sign off, but before I do so, just wanted to share a thought on the hog futures markets. By the way, I just love your decisive action when you see patterns you recognize complete, which led you to that buy of Geese hog futures down at 44, 45. Of course, they're 57 now. What I wanted to share on this is we're all familiar now that there is some sort of problem, and not quite sure how large the problem is over in China in its hog herd, with a viral disease that has spread somewhat. I share the idea that it, for me anyway, is worth following today, 2018, modeled by what happened between Labor Day of 13 into Easter of 2014. And back then, in 13-14, there was a viral disease that hit the U.S. hog herd that killed piglets, not hogs, not humans, but the piglets. And the hog herd, or at least the piglet crop herd, was hit very badly. and hog supplies then fell for a year's time, and the hog futures prices went from 60, 70 in the fall of 13, and they peaked somewhere near 130, 140. And what I share with you here is that disease became known Labor Day of 13. And if you go back and study the charts of hog futures prices, the hog futures prices didn't rally at all into late fall, early winter. But then when it got cold and all the animals are enclosed, from the cold, the disease spread like wildfire, and then the pig crop declined dramatically, and futures prices exploded within 60 days. That was like the December to February time period. So I just share that, and I'm thinking about that feature as possibly being at work today over in China. So that is for what it's worth, and we'll see.
Well, it's good to know the history because, we can't really get accurate data out of China. Even though it's one of the largest countries in the world, you still don't get good information out of there because it's very closed. But watching the charts certainly helps a bit, and right now they're headed higher, so I think your scenario is pretty much spot on, John.
Larry, thanks for your input on stocks, and I was very interested to hear your conversation with Daryl from California. So thanks again.
Okay, thanks a lot for calling in.